Well, to talk more about the meat ban in Delhi, we're joined by Tavleen Singh, columnist and author, and India's Sundar Basu, food writer, and Zainab Sikander, columnist with The Print. Tavleen Singh, I'd like to start with you. Your reaction to this ban of sorts. It's something that two mayors in Delhi, BJP mayors, have said. Apparently, it hasn't gone through the formal channels yet, but already meat shops are shut. Many restaurants not serving meat.
I'm outraged by it because I am totally opposed to officially imposed religious fanaticism of this kind. We have lived peacefully for many years with all these festivals. And once we start taking this road, then why shouldn't Muslims demand that we all fast during Ramzan? I just want to make one more point. In countries where this kind of officially imposed religious fanaticism exists, you don't see tourists, you don't see modernity, you see a move backwards towards a very bad time.
And you feel that this is linked to upcoming municipal elections and this focus on these kind of communal issues?
I think actually these officials are actual fanatics. I actually believe that they do not know that there's no mention of vegetarianism, for instance, in the Ramayana. Vegetarianism is a new idea in Hinduism. There's always been meat eating, and they may stop during Navratri, but that doesn't mean you can impose this idea on people who are going to lose jobs, who's going to lose it's outrageous. There's nothing else to be said.
Right. And India, Sundar Basu, your reaction to this, and given that, Navratri is something that is very North India, in Delhi it's become very, very big over the last couple of years, but the capital being, this cosmopolitan place where we have people from everywhere arriving and working in the capital, to impose this kind of food restrictions, which only a few people follow, though the mayor did say that over 90% of the people are vegetarian during Navratris.
My humble question to everyone who is making this decision is that ultimately who is benefiting out of it? After 2 years of bloodbath in the economy and in the F&B sector in particular, we are slowly inching towards a normalcy. So we see over here, not only the meat sellers who are getting affected, the restaurants are also getting affected in terms of not being able to sell this. In a country where there are 70% of the population is non-veg eater, this comes as absolute shock. And what I see in the past few years, that every time the non-veg food becomes a soft target to pick up an issue. We can celebrate, we have been celebrated every festival possible in our own way. When it's a question of tolerance, my time of self-restraint, I cannot forcefully impact it or impose it on someone else, right? We can amicably celebrate Navratra and we can eat meat also. Nothing has changed in the last 2 or 3 decades in terms of the location of those meat shops and everything else. Like that lady said, that for the last 25 years, she hasn't seen something like this. What has changed overnight? That's my question. That is creating a degree of discomfort, as the ministers are saying, for the people who are celebrating Navratra. I have no answers to this.
Right, and the BJP MP even calling that it should be in place across the country. Zainab Sikander, your reaction to what we're seeing happening here in Delhi?
Firstly, I always keep saying this: India is still a democracy. India is still a secular state. We are not a theocracy. We don't work according to religion. Now, first they told us not to eat beef. Then, they told us how to get married and they named it love jihad. Then now suddenly they've told us how to wear clothes and it became the hijab row. Now they're telling us not to eat halal food. They call it, food jihad. They've started calling it food jihad. And now they've come to us simply not eating meat. Now, I understand religious sentiments, but there are many religions in India. And if we start following everybody's sentiments, then we'll probably not be able to live a normal life. Now, say for example, right now there are 10 days of Navratri. There's also Ramzan that is happening simultaneously at the same time. Whose religious sentiment should be given precedence? So I personally feel it's a very unfair sort of a argument anyway, that, based on religious sentiments, we are supposed to make choices, like the whole of India is supposed to make choices accordingly. In fact, I would like to also point out that this entire thing is very centered around Muslim economy. Because there have already been many statements made by BJP. Like, for example, BJP National Secretary C.T. Ravi said that halal food is economic jihad, and that's why we should stop eating halal food. But at the same time, someone like Piyush Goyal, who's the Commerce Minister, he had requested in 2019 to Indonesian government that please allow us to export halal meat. So BJP is actually confused themselves. They don't know what they actually want to convey to people. Sometimes they say one thing and another time they say another thing, depending on which election is happening at which time. So for me, this is absolute dirty politics, nothing more. MCD election is close, and that's the reason in Delhi this is being done, just to sort of, harness that kind of vote bank that BJP always sort of,
right, and a distraction perhaps from the more pertinent issues like, fuel hike, which we could have been discussing right now, but we're talking about this meat ban. And we're also joined by Vineet Wadhwa, founder and CEO of FIO Restaurant and member of the National Restaurant Association of India. And earlier in this discussion, and India had raised this point that, restaurants are just about coming out of these last 2 years of the pandemic and lockdown, and now with more restrictions being announced, especially the meat ban. How has it affected your business, if you could tell us?
Gargi, so far there is no effect because we get our supplies directly from the abattoir or the wholesalers, and this order is basically for the retailers. So it's really not affected the supplies to us, and nor has
I think it's affected smaller restaurants more. Because in our report, we also had one individual who'd actually come to buy supplies for his restaurant, a small restaurant that he had, and he said that now he can't fulfill orders at his restaurant because he couldn't get the supplies at INA Market.
Yes, I agree that there could be a few people being affected, but at the same time, I find the act very draconian. We don't know heading in for. First was the beef, and then is this, and tomorrow it could be the halal issue. I mean, what started in UK is probably entering in here. I'm seeing some new developments, and we don't know what we have to prepare ourselves for.
Right. Tavleen Singh, you spoke about, that this affects the tourism, it affects various things, and given that it also creates so much uncertainty for people running restaurants, people involved in a particular trade. Suddenly one day a mayor wakes up and says that, for this period, no meat will be allowed. So these kind of uncertainties, you had it in Gujarat as well. Over the last couple of years, you've had these sort of decisions being made that no vendors near temples and nobody serving, non-vegetarian food near temples and schools, etc. In Haryana as well, at one point, there was some sort of a move that on Tuesday, meat shops shouldn't open. So more and more of this, and a lot of uncertainty given, who knows what will come up next.
It's not just the uncertainty. First, I agree with Zainab that a lot of it is targeted at Muslims. So all the employment opportunities or the jobs that Muslims do have almost deliberately been targeted, which is sickening, right? But the other problem is India has always had the image of being a tolerant democracy. We are not the kind of country where officials tell us what to eat, drink, wear. We're not a Muslim country for a start, right? And in Muslim countries where there are only Muslims living, that kind of thing would be fine if Muslims like it. But this is not. This is a very diverse country. I'm a Sikh. I've grown up eating meat and chicken and whatever else that came my way. And so who is some little two-bit official to tell me what I should eat or drink? But you've had the chief minister of Bihar just recently saying people who drink are not Indians. What is going on?
Yes.
They are actually fanatics who are suddenly trying to impose their fanaticism on us.
All right, and India, your comments on what this means for our image, these kind of diktats suddenly coming in, no meat during Navratri, no meat on Tuesdays, which is being announced by officials here and there. What do you feel it does to our image?
I don't like this. I don't like this because every time I don't like my personal food choices, my personal food habits, or the way I would celebrate an event to be dictated by someone else, where I'm not violating or I'm not hurting anyone else's sentiment. The way I would love to celebrate Navratra, the way I would love to celebrate a Durga Puja, the way I would love to celebrate a Deepavali is absolutely mine. That's what makes me an Indian citizen, right? We all know that over here to Goddess Kali, in Kalighat, every day they offer a meat bhog, right? That's mandatory, right? There are people across India who would share Deepavali over mutton roast, right? So nowhere it's written. And non-vegetarian, non-veg eating has been there over centuries in Indian history. It has been mentioned. So we were never a vegetarian country. So from where is this coming in? Right? Every time you feel very, very skeptical and you get very, very worried that what new twist will come. Recently, I saw that on the back of a bhaji packet, because it was written in Urdu, it has now become a huge issue. Tomorrow you will say that I cannot chant the famous shairs of my beautiful poet Mirza Ghalib. He will be banned. Where are we heading to?
All right, you're talking about the controversy over a Haldiram packet that had Arabic at the back, perhaps, and it was taken up by a local channel. Zainab Sikander, final, thoughts and comments on this entire controversy and the uncertainty also that it raises, as in what next?
Yeah, I just want to say that, India shouldn't become a land of extremes. That is not the culture that we've had for thousands of years. We've been known, and I know these talks sound very cliche that, we're a land of syncretism and, we should be tolerant and all that, but that is what Indians are. We are a democracy. We're extremely diverse. If we'll start boxing ourselves into, these petty ways of thinking of what to eat, how to dress, how to marry, India is just going to take a hit in our image, how we are viewed. Even, the whole point of BJP and Modi ji trying to be a Vishwa Guru, this is not what a Vishwa Guru should aspire. So if BJP is, on ground trying to do such petty things, to make just local elections work for them, on an international level, be it our tourism, be it how we are seen as a land of, we are a culinary haven. I mean, we are known as the land of butter chicken, and all of a sudden we are not supposed to sell mutton and chicken.
Right.
I don't understand, how India is even portraying itself. It's just petty.
Right. Vineet Wadhwa, final word from you, given, the kind of last couple of years that you've all been through as restaurants right now. You probably just want, your business to get better and better and have no sort of hindrances.
It's funny that only a couple of days back that we've designed a Navratri menu, and we see people celebrating Navratri and also eating non-veg on the same table, and here we are in the middle of controversy, which is so very unnecessary and so non-essential. But definitely there looks to be a political interest behind all this. That's what I can say.
All right. Well, interesting that, some people ordering from the Navratri menu and some people ordering non-veg at the same table. And I think that really is the idea of India that we all want here. Thank you so much all for joining us on the program this morning.